I'm back from holiday and in my cupboard under the stairs. What a great time it was. Hanging out with a few friends, catching some rays, building a fortress, and of course, I've got an absolutely golden tan as usual. Now, we're diving in here with some Global Chess League, Tehc Mahindra bringing you this one, and with the white pieces, we've got Alireza Firouzja, or Gucci Reza as he's known. Unstoppable at the moment. His opponent, another Frenchman, MVL here, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. What a contest this is. I've got some insane chess information to bring you at the end. So what does Alireza do? Kicks off with knight to c3 here. If you want to know what the top pros think about this move, then just have a look at this photo. It was taken 8 months ago at the Tartar Sauce tournament, famous annual tournament. This is the Van Gogh opening, not very well respected at the elite level. Now they're over the board, 20 minutes each, no increment, so time scrambles galore in this tournament. What do we see from MVL? He pushes that C pawn. Now Alireza plays d4, and he's a very naughty boy, because on move 4 he's now developing his queen, not once as we see here, but twice. This is not what the board should look like on move 4. All his pieces stuck on the Etienne back row. He's got to get developed. e6 is played, and finally we get e4. Best by test, a sensible move, opening up the sniper to charge into the game, but MVL beats him to the punch. We get knight f3, and now queen b6, already a very annoying move. There's no knight a4, and this one's under fire, which forces knight d1 as the best move. Very ugly, but missed. d6 played, gets given that miss there as we can see, and now this whole part of the game is really playing with fire. Surely you develop a bishop or something, top move of the Stockness monster, but no, we get e5, moving a pawn twice, and it just gets worse from an opening principle perspective, because after captures we see knight takes on e5, another piece moving twice in the opening, intensifying the pressure on c6, and the other pony's on the way. Now knight e7 is played, not knight g to e7 by the way. For the chess notation nerds, you just have to write knight e7, the other knight can't move there, illegal move, so okay, we crack on with this one. What does Alireza do here? I told you he was playing with fire. Knight e4, again given the miss, because the engine wants to just develop a bishop, right? He's hitting that sniper on c5. How do you actually punish this very dodgy chess? Well, MVL does it with a plum. He goes bishop to b4 check. Is it aplomb? I can't remember how you pronounce that word. Now we see the check, of course. He fires it at Alireza as the top pros do, and we see c3 blocking the way here. If the bishop retreats on that same diagonal, you can get chopped. Bishop a5, not ideal according to the Silicon Overlord. This one streams out. After f6, no clue, way too ninja, but not the best way to go. This is best, and it's queen d5. A black widow spider born, 8 legs, sprawling in every direction, and 2 knights under fire in the middle. How are you going to save these ones? Because here's the problem. Say you take here, you know, all this pressure down here. Well, you take here with check. This is the problem. Then recapture, you're a piece ahead. Even after captures, then black's doing great. So not the way to go. And if you don't take here, but you try and move this one drops with check, you're in big trouble. So what does Alireza do? Finds the only move to stay in the game here, and it's bishop d3. Excellent, covering that knight on e4, plus this one defends here. Nice circle of minor pieces, which we've spoken about before, and now after takes, well, we're going to see, because played in the game. But what happens if you flick in this one? With check, trying to win a pawn, then taking the knight, well, now there's this excellent bishop a3. When you opened the bishop, it didn't actually help you, because knight d6 check is on the way. If f5, f4, we won't go deep because we're about to see it. We see takes on e5, no bishop takes on c3 flicked in. Now we see takes on b4, and here's the problem that it looks like white has. f5 comes on the board. This is what I just mentioned in that other parallel universe line. How do you save that knight here? There's only one way. You have to pick up Freddy the f-pawn, bang on the door here, the rent is due. You're getting evicted, queenie. You can't stay there, the bishop covers the pawn, so we see another centralization, still a Black Widow spider, love it, hits the bishop on d3, and the knight is hit. What are you doing here? Knight f2. Alireza is just walking this absolute tightrope here. Dad's absolutely ashamed. What are you doing back here? Thought you'd gone off into the world, and now many good moves for black. But we see queen takes on b4, check, played. These ones leave the board. Knight recaptures, and Alireza retreats the bishop miserably to the back rank. Not a picture of harmony on move 16. Maxime a pawn ahead. How is he going to try and fight back here? Alireza Firouzja. We get bishop d7 from MVL, bishop d2, hits the pony, it saves itself. Epic commentary as always here on Epic Gouda. Now we see castles on the board and rook c8. That's where rooks belong. Open files or half open files. Castles now played. Both players tap the nose. They know it's the smart move to get that king to safety. Bishop d3 played, stacking those clergymen, fire in both directions, and now rook fd8. Very natural. b3 comes on the board to give that bishop an anchor square. King f7 played, and now how about this from Alireza? What does he do? He builds an Eiffel Tower in a nod to his French compatriot. MVL cracking up at the board, big grin, ear to ear. They're both loving it, but all good things must come to an end. He chops the rook, topples the Eiffel Tower. Now we see rook recaptures and bishop c6. Cemento blunts that open c file here and opens the eyes of the rook on these ones. g3 now played to support the f-pawn. Prepare to move the bishop on d2. We see knight f6 backpedaling, opening the bishop's eyes. Now bishop a5, rookie attacked, spotted. MVL's a top player, and bishop f1 retreats, coming onto the long diagonal potentially, but also opening up knight d3, knight e5. You don't really want to swap the bishops, and interestingly, after bishop e4 converging on d3, you don't really want to chop this knight for bishop. Alireza wants to somehow maneuver it one day if he possibly can, but first he plays rook c7. Given the miss, bishop e1 preferred, but okay, this is human chess here, and now this one tries to get rid of the super active rook. We see takes, bishop recaptures, knight c6, rotating, bishop d6 played, knight d4, and after bishop c5, double attack, we see this check, which is forcing a draw if MVL wants it, because after king g2, you can carry on bouncing with knight e1 and so on. Step into h3, not best, but it wasn't played. What do we see? Pawn b6. MVL wants more. He's no tiddlywinks player. Now you can retreat this bishop, but not played. Alireza, devilishly tricky, throws this one in. A randomizer here. You can even take back and then take here after king takes here. They're just different games. Instead we see the check, and if king f2 to pick up the knight here, well then the knight takes here with check on the king on f2. Picks up the bishop, again a different game. So instead, Alireza goes king g1, doesn't go after the pony. Now we see takes on e4, not with check, and he can therefore go bishop e3. Save the pair of bishops, try and keep it complex. Knight c3 best, but knight c2 played, attacking the bishop. It drops back to c1, knight b4, a3. The player's time running lower and lower, they can't get too low. The knight centralizes. Bishop c4, sniping down this sensitive diagonal. King e7, very natural. Now both players bringing the monarchs into the game, and b5, an awesome move found by Stock Lobster. Then if takes, there's this knight c3 check and picking up a piece, but not played. King c5, given the miss, very harsh. a4 now on the board to clamp. We get knight d6, hits the bishop, check flicting, king back, and the bishop saves itself. G6, cementoing the pawns. King D2, A5, natural moves. This bishop finds a new home. Now we get a check. You can technically take, but you give your opponent this passed pawn. What's going on there? Alireza sidesteps instead. He wants to keep the bishops, keep it random. King C5, the bishop back to C4. We get this holding pattern, almost a repetition. Bishop D3, but now MVL goes for a new kind of plan. Starts mixing it up with his knights bouncing. This one advances. Alireza takes. The second knight joins the party. These knights hopping all over the place, and look at the power of the bishops, dominating the forward jumps. But still, the king centralized for black, a pawn ahead. It's MVL in the driving seat. Alireza hanging on for dear life here. This bishop hits F6. We're not going to stop at every question mark. Far too many moves to get through. And after knight C5, Alireza is just in time to cover that weakened pawn. Check played, gone to fork Vegas, the bishop about to drop. So this one's taken off. How do you recapture? Well, if you're a big wuss, you go with the king here. If you want to play for a win, then you take with the F pawn. Try and run it down the board like Forrest Gump. Red carpet rolled out. Bishop D8, desperate for the counterplay, and look at Stock Barnacle poop its pants, because now black is completely winning, but can you find the winning variation? Now, it's not so simple. MVL doesn't find the right move, but the way to go, very well done if you spotted it, is advancing this e-pawn immediately, because although this drops here, hits the knight, which looks devastating, after it now drops to c6, hitting the bishop. Bishop b6, of course, natural. Well, there's this great move of king e4, and this king just can't get close because the squares are covered. And after this advance of the b pawn, very natural, now there's king f3. Don't prematurely push e2, cover bishop f2 first, and what to do. You have to actually give up bishop for pawn here. That's then a lost endgame. This was the way to go. Really cool ninja lines that the engine finds. But knight c6 played immediately, such a natural idea, but now the bishop can find the really important diagonal, and e3 no longer an option. No more king e4. This is the big problem. So h5 played. Yes, MVL is a pawn ahead, but it's technically now a level position. And in fact, the funny thing is, king d6, bishop c5 check, is now Alireza who starts applying some pressure here. If king d7 to stay with the knight looks natural, then king d5. So instead, we see king e6 played. Now the bishop comes back. King d6 could be played. Not sure why MVL didn't do it. Maybe he was pushing for more. But he goes g5 and allows king c5 from Alireza. Knight under fire, backpedaling, pawn drops. It's now anyone's game, level material. The e pawn's running. Bishop e1 blockades, and the b pawn is on its bike after king e5. g4 played. Exchange of prisoners. b5 on the board. This is so dangerous. That one's running incredibly fast, not blockaded, and there's only one drawing line apparently, right, according to the all-seeing metal overlord. The way to go, very well done if you saw this idea, is king e6. And the idea is, if you keep running the pawn, then the king waltzes round and you're just in time. And this knight helps with not letting this one advance after b6. Okay, very difficult lines to see, especially low on time, of course. So knight d5 was played. Idea being b6 comes, take the pawn, very nice, lovely jubbly, marching the king, shoulder out the white one, but you're not actually in time. By the way, if you run immediately in, let's show this line, well, white's just in time, so that when you pick up the bishop, now this pawn drops, we get to here, and of course at this point, you just can't stop the pawn from checking from here. Just kidding. Pawn's running this way, and that's going to make a baby girl. So we come back. This is why MVL went for this one, trying to shoulder out the king, advancing the pawn. We get to here, but there's a problem. You just can't stay with the the shouldering of the king. The bishop takes the square. So this was played. In waltzes the white monarch, and the pawn, not long for this world, causes MVL to resign. You know, where to go here? This bishop's so annoying. This is a sample line, and then of course the king marches in. Sorry, wrong way. Where are we? Something like this, and then you have to give ground, and this one's going to eventually run through. This is how the game ended here, and not just this. Alireza has taken down now Magnus, Hikaru, Anand, now of course MVL. Only one he hasn't defeated is Drawnish Giri, but obviously, right, that guy's a rock solid draw monster. Hope you enjoyed this game. Smash subscribe if you did, and check out the video on screen for another epic game of chess. Cheers.